Good evening. Welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show, too, by Jimi Bell. How are you?
I'm fantastic, my friend. How are you?
Good. Welcome back. I mean, I've known Jimmy for years. I'm going to step back for a minute and say one of the best things for me is growing up, your local hometown hero. So seeing you get the recognition at this level now, it warms my heart. You
Well,
know,
yeah, I guess you're never too old, right? Things come in different stages, throughout your life.
it's
I've
deserved
always had,
though.
I've always
You know,
had, right from the 20s, I've had some really, really crazy stuff going on,
right,
but I've always had a lot of, it's hard to say. I've had a lot of doors, jar open, that open and then they
right.
would shut again, so I've had a lot of those throughout my life. And that usually would, discourage anybody. But for me, it just, kept me
Right.
going like crazy.
There's different levels of success. I think you've always had levels with, you Shredneck and you've been in different bands and locally and all kinds of things. You've always been a musician. But to me, when I say it, I mean, as we're talking about as these albums, this is like a new plateau where your songwriting is getting a bigger platform, even probably
Right.
more commercially and more to the rock world. More people are hearing it, to a different level that you weren't it wasn't out there like that. I remember you back to back to Benzini in the band rooms and old school back in the day in the clubs, and so you know this is awesome to see you every day. It's like you're on this page, you're on here, you're on stage, you're playing this rock cruise. I just love it. So this is great, and
Yeah,
and
it's
and
been,
it's
it's been a good life. It's just one of those things where, you know, if you just, you know, stick with it long enough sometimes and you really, I've made tons of sacrifices. I really have. It's a very difficult business. I get asked that a lot from, young artists. Can you give me any recommendations? I always say, yes, have a backup plan. Definitely
yeah,
don't put your hopes into this, and that's not to sound like humdrum or negative by any means, but it's, I came into this without a backup plan. I just did, I came in not really having anything else to fall back on. And that's a terrible feeling to have. You want to definitely, if by chance things don't work out, you want to say, well, I'm a computer whiz or I'm
right,
a mechanic, I could do this and at least I'll have a steady paycheck. Music,
yeah,
unless you're at unless you're at that level, is not, I'm talking like the real big artists, your Motley Crues, your Def
right.
Leppard, your Van Halen. Unless you're at that level, um, it's never like a steady income. It's differs from week to week, month to month, year to year. I've never had the same at the end when I'm doing my taxes. I've never had the
Right.
same income ever. It's never.
Well, I was gonna say two things with that. A, it's probably true, and if somebody loves money, you don't want to be a musician at this point. But to the same point, if you're a hard worker, and if you're a hard worker and you have the talent, if you had a backup plan, you get discouraged. It might be easier if you had this responsibilities or kids or sick parents or whatever. It's easy to go if you have a backup plan. But if you're a hard worker and you're like, I don't have a backup plan, I can't quit. That kind of can help you also persevere. Because if you got nothing else,
Yeah, yeah.
you
It's
know what?
it's like
There are
do or
people
die.
that do that, right? But there's people. I'm sure you have guys that are like, you're like they're awesome, but they're also good at sheet metal and everything else. And they're like, you know what? I've had enough of this. But they're great musicians. They're just so
Yeah.
it could really depend too, on how we're going to persevere. Um, but so this is really funny. So you go way back from doing Joe Jet from being a Huns in your first big thing, laughing from being a Huns to now being an angel in your last video. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, night and day, right?
Yeah. It's crazy. It's
It,
crazy. Yeah. It's
how's it like doing that? Because so you're getting like it twice as fast now because it's like a catch up game for you. Like everyone else had their slow one band rise. You're in two bands with two really good albums out at once right now in an industry that's not doing a lot of stuff. You
yeah.
know,
It's it was just so weird that the timing of all this. And what was even weirder, we actually postponed because of Randy's death and everything. When Randy passed away,
Yeah.
we actually had to postpone the release date of the autograph record. Originally, it was supposed to be out 1 week after the House of Lords record, or it was the other way around. Either the autograph was out first and the House of Lords. I mean, they were that close within a week,
Wow.
and that was going to be, and that was in September originally. I was going like, I can't believe that I'm going to have two albums coming out within a 2 week period. But in some cases, I like this. I had the time now with autograph. These couple months, and now here. I mean, with House of Lords, and now
Right.
here
Yeah.
comes autograph. So
I think it's better for focus. For focus, you know what I mean? And because the
yeah,
light can
for
be on one
focus
at a time,
reasons.
and you don't want
Yeah,
to
I
split
mean,
it
if
because
I have,
they're good albums. They're both good albums. You know what I mean? You don't want to take away from
yeah,
one
you
for the
want
other
to be
one.
able to concentrate on both. The House of Lords one was spectacular because we had this keyboard player come aboard, Mark Mangold. He came in with a lot of creative ideas, different than when he wasn't on any of the last records that I've done since I've been with the band in 2005. So it was great to have. James always played keyboards. He played,
Right.
because he's a great keyboard player, bass player, guitar player. He does everything. Uh, but it was great to have somebody that's like a real serious keyboard player with lots of
Yeah.
keyboard, come in and write particular pieces for the record. So it was just it came out really, really good.
It's two different types of music too. It's great, and they're really good in both their genres because like Autograph is definitely a fun record. Lots of shredding, lots of fast guitar, really tight melodies. We'll focus on that in a minute. But I'll talk about House of Lords. It's much more of an epic type of music where it's beautiful, still soaring rock, and there are similarities, but they are a little different, which is fun about it. So you can, it's not the same thing. You're not repeating yourself, which is got to be
Right.
good as a guitar player. You're not doing the same two albums. You
Well,
know.
yeah. I mean, I when I write songs for artists, I always think about the singer. The
Mhm.
singer's the most important part of to me when I'm writing something. I go, okay, what is this person's vocal abilities, his range? What does he sound best singing?
Mhm.
What's the and I also look at the band that I'm in. Like when I joined Autograph, I knew they were more of a straight rock band, where House of Lords is a melodic rock band.
Yep.
Um, so not to say that Autograph isn't melodic rock, because if you listen to our
No, but I know what you're saying. There's like an AOR melodic rock. There's like a subgenre of that style band. There's a certain thing about it. If you listen to that a lot,
yeah, and if you exactly, it's that type of thing. But then if you listen to a track like that we just released the lyric video we just released 2 days ago, "Take Me Higher," that is very much a very melodic. I call it a mid-tempo ballad. Simon hates when I call it that. He doesn't call it a mid-tempo ballad, but that's what I call it anyway. But it's it speaks volumes in so many ways. So it's good to write for different singers. Like it's so weird. I got a message from James Christian yesterday,
Mhm.
and he said to me, when we did this last record, we got a little bit of a late start, and I wanted, we were kind of rushing to get everything together, but it ended up coming out great. He says, but I want to get a real head start. So I've already sent him 21 tracks that I've written that are geared for House of Lords. I sent him this morning,
That's awesome.
because I write so many songs, but just to get that much of a jump on the
I feel
next
like I should
record.
schedule our next interview so we're ready for the next one. I feel like I
Yeah,
should
yeah, just
get in
schedule it for
when I get off the phone. I'll talk to
2023.
them afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, you better get this guy now.
Well, the way you are, it's like I don't have to catch you there. I'll see you at or I'll catch you down the Hungry Tiger doing your Deep Purple. I love Deep Purple, so I love your Beyond Purple band. You know, you know, all your
Yeah, I
stuff you
haven't
do.
played there in quite a while. That was a well, Beyond Purple got signed with a big agency that handles you
Yeah,
know, a lot of tribute acts.
wasn't that long
So
ago. I
now
saw
they
you there a couple of years or two
yeah,
ago.
well, it was a bit ago. It was definitely last had to be over a year ago because we signed with them and now we're restricted to playing like certain local things unless I mean we could play there, but the money went up a lot for the band
Yeah.
because they're putting us in theaters
Okay.
and casinos and stuff like that. So I mean, it's very understandable. We couldn't go play a place like the Tiger for a certain amount of money, but then
Oh,
get a you know triple that or you know even more than that over at a casino or a theater.
right.
They would that wouldn't fly. You know, it
No.
wouldn't be
I mean, to be
right.
fair,
So
you know, but it's a good band though. I mean, you guys at Daryl's house, right? Daryl's house. That was the thing.
yeah, now that's a great place at Daryl's. That's a whole
Yeah.
different type of thing. You know,
I
that's
mean,
very
that's another
cool.
band you
That
do. I
venue.
mean, people go on Jimmy's website. He's a lot of projects. That's what I'm saying, pretty much. Now,
Yeah.
with House of Lords, though, you've done this is your ninth album for them, if I'm
Yeah, this
correct.
is my ninth
Okay.
album with them.
What about songwriting? Has it
Crazy.
changed over the years? It is. How's the songwriting? Because you do some songwriting more. Because like in the autograph one, your hands are all over this other one, so that's why I'm kind of seeing the
Well,
difference.
I actually did less writing on this last House of Lords record because I ended up getting a late start on it. And plus James was, you know, was had started working with Mark Mangold, the keyboard player. And Mark was submitting some really cool ideas that were a little bit different from what we've been doing.
Mhm.
I mean, look at the old early days of House of Lords. It was a lot of keyboards from Greg Jafria, and then when I came in, it still had all the keyboards, but the guitars were elevated more, like the heavy
Yeah.
riffs and all
Yep.
that stuff. But they were still a melodic rock song. So now what we did with this record is we just kind of went tried to go back to some of the old sound with a lot more keyboards involved. And but I played all over the whole record. I think
Oh yeah.
there might be a track or two that I didn't play on, but I'm all over the whole thing.
Well, I mean, as far as songwriting credits and stuff, just looking at the songwriting credits, as far as you know, how much
Yeah.
you've gotten on the songs, and it's not about anything else. It's just trying to figure out your input, what the songs are, what they sound like, and obviously because two different
And
types of
it's
music.
funny. What's funny is that the tracks, like the track "Roll Like Thunder," that that's a unbelievable track. That was every House of Lords record that I write. Well, look, I just sent James 21 songs over the past two nights. I mean, every House of Lords record that I've ever written was, as always, I always submitted about 14 to 16 songs. And, they would pick, 10 and then maybe have a different artist have submit one song on. And so basically, there was always a lot of leftover tracks.
Right.
So I would always have to remind James and say, hey, look, you gotta go back and listen to this. This is a really good song. So that's what he did on a lot of these tracks that are on this record. He went back and revisited stuff that I had already written,
Yeah.
and there's still so much more, just so much
Well,
more,
that
so many more other songs. It's
what do you
crazy.
well that makes you think two things. A, how do you write so many darn songs for inspiration? And like when you say you write a song, sometimes some people will be like it's a riff they'll have or a paragraph of lyrics or they have like when you're submitting a song, I imagine you, as prolific as you are, you're actually outlining it with some sample drums or some drum things and some probably rough bassed out song, like literally formatted a song that's
Well, I'll
the
show
ideas
you.
are kind of laid out.
I'm right. Yeah, I'll kind of show you. I have.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can turn this. I just finished doing something here. This is kind of what I don't know if you could see that my
Yeah,
grids.
we can see
See, I
that.
have a
Yeah.
drum template. So
Yeah.
I just use a straight um uh a straight drum template. Oh, I don't want that. I don't even know what the heck that is. But boy, I just hit something and I didn't even know what that is. Something came up, octave keyboard. I didn't even know I had a keyboard in here. I'm going to
That's
have
in
to
the
look
next
into
song.
this now.
That might be your next song.
Um, yeah, I didn't even know I could play keyboards in here. I'm so new at this recording studio. See, for all the House of Lords records, I always went to BJ's house. He's right around the
Uh,
corner from me.
what are you using? What are you using for a thing?
I'm using Presonus Studio One.
Yeah.
When I first had to get into this, because of all the the House of Lords, and there's another project coming out on Frontiers that I'm involved with. That actually came about before the Autograph thing. They were talking to me about that. That's how the whole thing with Autograph came into play. So I knew between House of Lords, that project, Autograph, and then I'm constantly getting asked to play guest solos on some things. I knew I had to just finally just get my own studio and not be afraid of the learning curve, because the
Yeah.
learning curve with this stuff is my biggest problem. I tried Pro Tools right off the bat because that's what BJ uses, and that was would have taken a lot longer for me to get going. It's a more complicated program.
Yeah.
Um, this I adapted to very quickly, and it's been nonstop ever since. And but what it comes down to is basically a WAV file is a WAV file. So at the end of the day, when you're sending out stems, it's as long as everything
Right.
lines up to zero, it'll go into any one of the recording programs.
Yeah. Well, that's because everyone's switching. That's why I was asking, because a lot of people, Pro Tools has switched. There's another one out there, and then people are doing a couple, and then now more people are trying a lot other recording things now that they've been home during COVID. That's why I always like to know what someone's using, because there's so much more going on now. It's not the same
Yeah, I mean,
exclusive
there's
Pro
a
Tools.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, even I know a buddy of mine who's a you know, that's who was the bass player in Quiet Riot and House of Lord. He uses GarageBand still for a lot of stuff, and he gets amazing sounds out of that thing. It's like so. Like I said, at
I'll
the
use
end
it
of the
too.
day,
I have
it's
other higher end stuff, and I will actually go back to GarageBand just because it's easier and more intuitive to just put your idea down.
yeah, it's like I believe me, I would love to have really dabbled into Pro Tools and really stick with it, but I was on a crunch for time to get
Yeah.
some things, and so I had a buddy that I was going over to his house and recording stuff, at first, and he had this program, and he knew it like the back of his hand, and he showed me literally how much easier it was than Pro
Really?
Tools. So I had, and then anytime I get in a bind, he comes right over and he'll show me something. So it's better to have this.
It's cool. It's cool. So actually, what's really interesting is I didn't realize this. I was thinking about it. So unfortunately, Randy passed, and which is horribly sad. But then some people were like, autograph. Now there's no original members in the band.
Yeah.
And back in the day, but here's the thing. This is actually, I'm gonna say, on a positive note. Back in the day for us, once we would be like in the bands, this guy's out with the band or this singer left. Back when things was first happening, it's not the band anymore. It's not the band anymore. World's kind of changed in the past 5 or 10 years with like what the
Oh
band is.
yeah.
So I'm gonna say one thing. A band on some level, when you see bands fight and they split, and they fight. It's a brand name that gets you into a better position to be seen. This
Yeah.
album for Autograph, luckily Randy final work was in it. It's great, but the position of the name of the band allows you guys to get a certain level of out there where it may not, this great album wouldn't be heard because of that. But what's even funnier is if you think about it now, another Connecticut native is in another band, Quiet Riot, Alex, that also at this point
Yeah.
didn't have the original until the bass player until Rudy came back. So it's like
We
two,
just played together, and you got to
right,
understand though. We just played together. Matter of fact, I've done a few shows with him. Um, a lot of people don't realize that Rudy is not the original bass player.
no,
Actually,
I
Rudy
mean I know that, but
is
I'm
the
saying
more
that's the
recognized
one,
person because of the
right,
video.
right,
You know, actually, Chuck Wright, the guy that Rudy replaced, they brought Rudy back in because he was more recognizable. But Chuck Wright was in Quiet Riot before Rudy. I mean, he was there at one of the beginnings. So it's just kind of strange, that that it's like that. But the band's doing great. They
They sound
sound
fantastic.
awesome. I mean, look at Foreigner. I mean, you can't. I'm not comparing Autograph to Foreigner by any means, but I mean, Foreigner doesn't have one original member at all. Mick Jones doesn't even come out anymore.
Right?
So
Does he
it's
shows up once in a while, right? I think he shows up once in a while and high fives somebody and
yeah,
then goes back.
he just but he doesn't anymore. Now
Right.
he doesn't.
Oh
Leonard
wow.
Skinner, no original members. It's like there's a lot of bands. It's like this. There's two different types of fans that I always say. There are the fans that won't accept anything else. Look at they even gave Autograph a hard time when they got Simon into band 10 years ago. Simon was been in the band longer than the original band ever was
Right.
together. So yeah, so I mean Simon's been in it for a decade. But originally there were three original members. You know, Kenny Richards, Randy, and Steve Lynch. But Kenny passed away. Steve quit in
Yep.
2019, washed his hands of the band, and then Randy passed away. There's some people that don't want to, accept anything except original people. But then there's the other fans that just really want to support and hear the music and hear some of the stuff, but also want to watch the band grow and progress,
Right.
which is what Autograph did right from before I joined. They had done another full length album and an EP, and it just works out great. It shows that a band can grow. Most of these guys, a lot of them don't even put out records anymore. The guys at Foreigner, they don't even need to because they have so
No.
many hits. But they're all incredible musicians. They could put out a brand new record. There's just a lot of guys that aren't doing that. Autograph has really developed, worked hard on all these songs, and has putting out new records,
Right.
which is really important. Not just to us, but to the fans,
Well, it's a
people that support
business
the
on some
band.
level, like if businesses are going to grow, people are going to change in there. It's not like it's become something different. They didn't take the name and use it become like a grunge band or something else. It evolved into a certain situation, and I'll say, yeah, and I'll even go back, yeah, quite right. Same thing. It's a good lineup. It stays to who it is. I mean, actually, I bumped into you last time. I think I saw you. We were at the Quiet Ride show at the casinos when I bumped into you last. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it was a good show. I mean, they honor the band. You guys honor it. Simon's a fantastic singer. If you could have somebody come in and take over vocals, um,
Yeah,
so good.
Simon is amazing.
And
I
he's an
love what
entertainer too. You know,
yeah, he has. He's a great. I got to tell you, he's quite an amazing musician all around. I never realized what a good guitar. Like when I joined the band, Simon was just playing rhythm guitar.
right?
A couple little lead things, but the guy could really play. He's an amazing acoustic player, and plays acoustic guitar way better than I could. Way, way, way better. He's like a really good acoustic player, but he's great on keyboards. It's like Simon.
It's a triple threat, huh?
I didn't know you played keyboards. It's like all these guys have all these hidden
In talent.
talents. Like when I joined the band, I didn't even know that Mark, our drummer, was such a good producer. He produced the whole album. That's what he does for a living. He does stuff for Warner Brothers and everything. He's always on projects. So I had no idea that they had that much talent.
Well, that's good. And like I said, the vehicle of Autograph wouldn't allow all these people separately, including yourself, to be heard, but collectively. But you guys do
Yeah,
do the old stuff. But you guys do and honor the old stuff the same. It still sounds, just as good, even a little bit better because it's
yeah,
louder.
yeah. It's listen, we like playing. There's some of the old tracks we absolutely love, and we do our best to honor them. It was and all the people dig it. It's you know you got to move on, man. You can't just stay. If you don't progress, you just get stale. You
I
got to keep going forward. When
I
I
agree.
came in, when Randy asked me into the band, I made it really clear right off the bat that I was a songwriter and that I wanted to write with this band. I said, I don't mind coming in and playing look, I mean, look at they gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted, solo wise and everything. I mean,
Hmm.
there's 1,000 people they could have gotten that would play turn up the radio note for note or anything. I'm just not that guy. That was the only solo that they asked me to do, and I already knew it anyway, so I had no problem doing that. As far as any of the other old songs, they gave me total freedom to do whatever I want. There's a couple of them that I do like loud and clear, and I'll take some certain elements from other things, but most of the time I'm just ripping my own solos and doing that. And the thing about when I joined is that I really wanted to bring what I could bring into the band, as a writer.
Yeah,
Let's do a new album. Let's do it. So they
it's
were
good,
all
and that
about it.
it's so good. Actually, looking at the pictures of some of the songs, I mean, it's chock full of it's long. When's actually it's coming out soon, right? It's like it should be out. I think this month coming up, a couple really soon. What's the
With
date
the
on that?
album,
Yeah, what's the date on
18th,
that? 18. Okay,
18th.
I got the promo stuff in front of me. I don't have the date in front of me. The melodies and the guitars, and it's like every track just feels like it's like almost like it's like a greatest hits album because it's so like everything's just so catchy and fun, and it's just such a it goes fast because
Oh,
like
thanks. That
you can
makes
do an album, you know what I'm saying, and it can be like a good album like that we say it's like 8 good songs or 30 minutes, you know what I mean, you don't have to do long, but this album like it goes through and you got way more than that, but you're like, holy wow, that feels like a fast, almost like an hour, like it just goes through, and that's what you
yeah.
want,
Well,
this is a good album.
I'm glad you like it because honestly, every interview that I've done, and I guess this is a good thing because everyone and Simon's done tons of them, interviews. Um, Everybody said the same thing about the record. They go, I'll never forget the very first one. And I thought it was a fluke thing because nobody ever said this to me. He said, you guys should be playing every single song on this record in your set. He said there's not a filler on this whole record, and I was like, wow, But then every interview I've done after that is all said the same thing, and then people then they say, and these are my particular favorites. So did you have a chance to listen to see what any of your particular favorites are yet? I mean, or have you picked them yet?
I'm looking down. I probably I don't I do I feel so good to be
Yeah, I
together.
love that.
Slave Tonight I play a lot. Honestly, what I do with this album is I just play it the whole way through. I actually don't pick a song.
Yeah,
That's probably what the best thing about it is. I mean, it'll stand out at me right now, but I'm the kind of person you ask me in 2 days, I'll have a different favorite song. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I'm the
yeah,
kind of guy who like with you, like Deep Purple, and yes, I like all the versions of Deep Purple, Mach 1, Mach 2. I like all the versions of Yes. I like the different members. I wanted to mix up. It's such beautiful things, and this album has so many different ingredients into it that you haven't heard yet, and you can hear these live, and you're gonna be into them right away. Where you're not like, I don't know what they're doing. This isn't some impromptu jazz thing where you have to be into it. These songs, you feel like they're catchy, but they're exciting because the guitar work. It's the guitar work's challenging without being boring to the
yeah.
average listener.
Well, here's the thing too. Um, I don't know if I mentioned this in any of our past interviews, but I'm not a fan of instrumentals. Like I don't like, I appreciate them. Like I love, I think all the guitar players like Yngwie, Steve Vai, all those guys um, are absolutely amazing players. But I'm just not into that stuff. I like songs with
Mm-hmm.
vocals, and that's where I'm at. And I'm not into like these long, over indulgent guitar solos. It's not what I'm into. I like having the vocals and a guitar solo that's like 30 seconds, at the most 30, 40 seconds, and I'm out and it's back to the chorus, because that's what's important in a song. And my guitar player friends laugh at me when I say that. They can't even believe I say that. And I go, yeah, I mean, honestly, the solo is the least important thing in the song. And they can't even believe I'm saying that, but it
Really?
really is. It's about the hook, the
Well, that's
vocal
the
hook.
songwriter. You serve. That's I always say that. I mean, you serve the song. You serve the song. And if you're
Yeah, I
just
mean, look at
out for your own instrument,
who's.
you're not serving it.
Look at you're a guitar player. You're going to appreciate the guitar solos. Another musician will appreciate the musicianship. The average listener, who is just your average person that goes to work, a regular job every day that doesn't really know about music is not going to really give a damn about how good the guitar solo is. They're going to, if they hear something pretty flashy, they'll go, oh, that's really cool.
Right.
But they're not going to understand the technical part of it, what went into it or anything. But they're gonna relate to the chorus and the vocal lines of the song. That's what it's about. It
See, to
is, to
me,
me, that's what it's about.
I used to, when I was younger, I used to sing, and like I started playing guitar later on. It's like the song because I could actually do the music to what I wanted to the song, so I started learning guitar to whatever. But to me, when I listen to music, and not saying I'm great by any means, but like how I listen to it, I hear a song, and I'm like, could have really kind of edited yourself there. Not you, but I'm saying that song didn't need this part, or does it serve the song? Does the track listing in the album? That's another thing. This is a really good track listing, the way it plays together. Sometimes you can ruin some good songs by having this
Yeah,
weird jerky song listing where you're like rocking out, and you're like this weird halt in the music, and then you're back to it again. You're like, maybe that could have gone towards the end, or you could have, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It all has to work to the music along, like I said, the guitar solo. You can have a good guitar solo, a second one. Sometimes a second one can come in at the end over something else, kind of sneak it in there. Got to work with the song though, you know.
yeah. It's I've learned a lot in songwriting ever since from the very grateful for my time in House of Lords. I mean, I've always written songs. I mean, even back in the Joint Forces day,
Oh yeah,
um, I've always written a lot of songs. So I was grateful to be in that type of a situation in an original band way back then, where I was writing even that early in my life. So that's always been. I mean, look at when Joint Forces finally came to an end, sometime in after all these other things, like when the '90s were around,
yeah,
and I had to go back to playing cover songs in a cover band again. I
hard.
literally when I started doing it, I was in such a depressed state of mind that I thought my life was over. And I said, I can't believe that my musical career is over and I'm having to go back to playing cover songs now. I wasn't, it took me quite a while to accept the fact and just have some fun and just, look at it as, oh, at least I'm keeping my chops up and
Yep.
playing out in front of people, letting people, because if I just disappeared, uh, you know, people would be going, hey, do you remember Jimi Bell? I remember him back in, it's like, so instead, this way you're keeping yourself in
And that
out
was
there
probably the
and
point
letting
that
people
you
know
pushed
that you're
through.
still kicking
You know.
ass.
And actually, the people don't know, and that's where the things I know Jimmy from. Jimmy was in Joint Forces, and they were a pretty big Connecticut tri-state area band. I don't know how far out I can remember. It's like 30 years ago now or something, so my mind is
Yeah,
mush. But you were everyone knew who you were, especially back then. That band was was the bomb, and you
it
were like
was
on the cusp. You guys were on the cusp of it too. You know.
it was interesting because back then they didn't even the term shredding on
Hmm.
guitar and stuff like that wasn't even really known. It's like I had developed this style of playing back then of pretty like fast alternate picking stuff before even people heard of Ingve, because I was listening to Al Di Meola and
Yep.
Richie Blackmore, and and Johnny Winter was my first guitar player, and he did a lot of, even though he was a blues player, he had a lot of whipping guitar riffs. So I threw together this style between these three guitar players, and then added some, started listening to Michael Schenker, and then of course Eddie with the tapping, and so there was I had this these early arsenals, these people in our radar that were absolutely incredible. Alvin Lee from 10 Years After, I so I took a lot of that and just created this crazy style,
Right.
and it,
And
it
people
really
didn't know
caught
that
on.
they didn't, and people didn't know all these other references back then. They were the musos weren't
No,
the same. So hearing you do it, I remember they're like, "What is he doing? Where's this coming from?" It's like another planet. Like that was why he was like Jimmy Bell, because you had this whole different guitar language
you
that
yeah,
people
it
were not
was
hearing on a local scene like that. It was totally different.
yeah, it was different. I even influenced a lot of guitar players, like even my buddy who got more famous than me, with Chris Pelletieri. He was from Connecticut, and he ended up when he saw me play, he flipped out, and then he changed his whole style of playing just because he wanted to play that shred style of playing.
Well,
You know?
I didn't know he was from Connecticut. I just talked to him. I didn't know he was from Connecticut.
Oh yeah, yeah. He used to come see me play all the time. Him, Tony McAlpine's from Mass. Tony used to come and watch me play in Enfield up at Shaker Park when that place was open.
Oh wow,
Um, yeah, Tony sat there with a tape recorder and was
oh my
recording me. I'll
god,
never forget it.
that's
But
awesome.
yeah, no, yeah, Chris is a great guy.
He's
I've
a
known him all
madman.
my life. We hung out a lot together, me and Chris.
He had some good laughs too on the interview. With some real laughs. He was funny. He's a funny dude. You know, really laid back
Yeah,
dude.
Chris had a. I went up to a gig. I went up to a gig with. He was in the band Vice, and I went up to a New York show and just hung out. You know, we were all playing, and Chris had a red Corvette. And when he was getting ready to leave the hotel room, this is way before safety features. Chris had shut the door with the car running and locked his keys in the car, so he couldn't get it open. The police came and we're trying to get with the lock thing, the car's running and everything. And then Chris was just about to. He had a crowbar and he was just about to smash the window,
Oh,
just to get into the car. And I said, hold on, don't do that. So I took the crowbar and I got behind the window a little bit and I bent it out as much as I could just for him to get his arm through the window and open the car door. And we got into the car. He was so grateful. I'll never forget that. It was funny, 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 man.
that was crazy. And you actually take it to another level. You think about two really great guitar players doing something with their hands by doors and glass together. That could really change the world for everybody. You guys hurt your hands, right?
I busted this hand. This is my fretboard hand. I popped the knuckle down on this hand. I was in a half cast right here. And even when I was in a half cast for about 2 months, I was practicing with two fingers because I had these two fingers exposed. But after that cast came off, I was practicing as much as possible, but I wanted to practice all the time. That's when I developed the shred neck.
Okay.
That's when I came up with the thing for, just practicing in my car, running my fingers on real strings and keeping my calluses strong. So that's when that whole thing came about.
And that's actually also for people that don't know, also on his website. He sells those. Those are awesome. You have a whole line of that stuff too now. You expanded on that quite a bit on your
Yeah,
Shredneck side.
there's many travel guitars, that you can actually play basses. Billy Sheehan has a little shred neck model now. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. It's very cool.
That's crazy. That's awesome. Billy has one too. That's really funny.
Yeah, it was a Billy Sheehan shred neck bass model now.
I'd known that. I would have talked to him about that when I talked to him the other day. That's fantastic. So people check out the page. I mean, I can go on with the album, break it down, but the truth is, it would just sound like I'm shining you on because it's a really good album. It's
Thank
so
you.
good. People just need to just check it out. I mean, and I was saying earlier, I'm not going to BS Jimmy about his music, but this is probably like overall, like this is like one of your most solid albums. Though, 'cause it really, because it's a songwriting and guitar album. And listen, Simon is just so fantastic, and the melodies and the rest of the band, and Mark on drums, like the whole thing is it's just a solid album. It's
Yeah, it's I'm very, very happy that Randy got to play on the whole record. And actually Randy had turned in the record. Randy sent it to the label and with all the artwork and everything, a couple of weeks prior to his passing, which is and he put his heart and soul into this record, played like incredible on it. So somebody said to me, I wonder if if Randy kind of had it in his head that this might be his last record or something, something as weird as that. I mean, you never know, but let's just put it this way. He played better on this record than I've ever heard him play on anything. So it's a great tribute to him.
Yep.
What we had to do was get extra artwork put in. We managed to do that, even though it was already turned in. We were able to get a special dedication page for him, and we
Which is
honor him
important.
every show. Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's good, and I think it's good that Autograph continues on too. I think it's important that the band stays on. I mean,
Oh yeah.
the original death of the other guy in the band. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. It was like some kind of weird murder thing, and then like Steve's retired, great legend, and the singer's off to another thing. So it's nice, and then unfortunately Randy, that the band can can still keep going. You know, it's important. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's Simon. Like I said, Simon and Mark. Mark's been in for 9. Simon's been in for 10 years now. Regardless of anything, like I said, that's longer than the original lineup even lasted. He's been the front man, the focal point of that band. People recognize Simon as the vocals of that band and the writer. You know, he writes great songs, and he's just extremely talented man. And you know, I, I wouldn't want it any other way. I think the way that we interact together as a band, we're not just friend. We're like family. We get along like incredible, and we're very grateful that Steve Unger from Metal Church has come in. He's doing a great job, and his vocals are strong. He plays solid like Randy did. So it was just a miracle that those things worked out like that.
And visually, it's always been good visually to have you play left hand guitar on a stage because it looks great. Having it
Yeah,
pointing off like the devil horns it's definitely more of a visual thing too to go on.
yeah.
It's good. I mean, so I'm telling people, of course, check out House of Lords. All the albums you've done are great, and that prior
Thank
House of
you.
Lords are also good too. But obviously, they feature much more guitar, which is really what I enjoyed. The A game got me back into House of Lords. I always enjoyed the music. I always felt it needed something. You becoming a member and you bringing in your guitar game is really the albums
Well,
I go to. Another great House
thank
of
you,
Lords
buddy.
album. You're welcome. But this to me is celebrating this is just a little bit different because this is a little bit different than what you've been doing, and it's like taking all your skills. You're kind of in one spot now. You know,
Yeah,
it's a great.
thanks, man. Thanks.
It's a good resume piece. Is what it is. I'm gonna direct you to your page and check out your stuff. Of course, Frontiers has all your stuff on there, and you're probably gonna be in other projects, and of course, you'll always be back. I'll probably
Yeah,
bump into
visit
into
me
a
on
shit.
Facebook. I have an open page. You can visit me and yell at me and do whatever you want. Of course, my website is jimibell.com, and
Mm-hmm.
autographs page though is autographband.net. So not to be confused. So that page is
I'll put the
autographband.net.
links underneath the show for everybody. Just to click on it. All these links underneath the
Okay.
podcast and underneath the YouTube channel. It's easy for everybody. Okay.
All right. Good.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
All right.